with a lot of folks. If you're older especially, you've seen this. You know, the kids get dressed up. Some of them are shepherds, some of them are angels, some of them are sheep. One lucky kid gets to be Gabriel, a lucky boy gets to be Joseph, a lucky girl gets to be Mary. They walk down the aisle, they get to stand next to a plastic Jesus in a fake manger for a while. That's the Christmas pageant, right? It was a big deal in my church when I was growing up. It was huge, and all the kids did it. And I remember one year, I was like 3rd, 4th grade. I was standing up there while this is all going on, and I thought to myself, I do not want to be here. I want to do this. So the next year comes around, and summer turns to fall, and fall turns to hunting season, and hunting season turns to Thanksgiving, and it comes about time for all that to start up, and I decided I'm not going to do it. 4th, 5th grade-ish, somewhere in there, I'm not going to do it. So I went to my parents, and I said, I'm not going to do the children's Christmas pageant this year. And they said, what? I said, yeah, I'm not going to do it. And they said, really? You're really not going to do it? I said, yeah, I'm not going to do it. And they were, like, my parents are great. My parents are amazing. They were supportive. They're like, okay, if you don't want to do it, we're not going to make you do it. But I could see in their brain was this, like, confusion. Like, why? Like, why? We thought you liked it. Why don't you want to do this? And I could also see, you know, somewhere in there, some disappointment, some hurt was in there somewhere. And I was sitting there, you know, 4th, 5th grade, and I was like, did I make the right call here? I really didn't know. Well, the die had been cast, right? I had said the words. So my parents said, okay, if you want to do this, you can do it, but you're going to have to tell the Sunday school teachers. Okay. Right? Don't really know how to do that, right? Good job, my parents, teaching me life experiences, right? You're going to have to tell them. Okay, so they set up the appointment. I walk in. They said, Sunday school teachers, so what's up? I said, well, I'm not going to do the children's Christmas pageant. And they were like, really? Same thing. You know, just really? Like, we thought you liked it. Thought everyone liked it. I'm not going to do it. And it was the same thing with them, right? It was the same response from them, the same sort of, like, they were supportive. They weren't jerks about it. They were like, okay, you don't want to do it, you're not going to do it. That's okay, I guess. But there was kind of a disappointment and a hurt in there. And again, sitting there, and I'm like, I don't know if this is the right call. You know, I really don't know. So rehearsal started up, and the Sunday school. At that point, you know, everything that was Sunday school paused, and everything became pageant. So every week we went to Sunday school. It was pageant practice, pageant fittings, pageant for several weeks. And I went because I still had to go to Sunday school. Like, nobody knew how to do this. My parents didn't know how to do this. Sunday school teachers, nobody knew how to do this. It never happened before. So I still went, and all my friends are doing pageant stuff, and the teachers are doing pageant stuff, and I'm just sitting there. Week after week. My parents didn't know what to do, so they didn't think ahead to tell me to, like, bring a book. There were no iPads, there were no tablets, you know, the teachers didn't know what to do with me. Nobody ever done that before, but was doing the pageant. They got 30, 40 kids to worry about. So I'm sitting there week after week watching the practice. It doesn't look that bad. But I kind of didn't want to do it still. But all my friends were doing it. I disappointed these people. And I didn't know if it was the right call or not. And even when the pageant was going on, I was sitting next to my parents, right? And they're watching all the other kids. And I finally thought about that. I was like, they're watching all the other kids. They probably would like to be watching me, but I'm not up there because I made this decision to not do this. Is that the right decision? I didn't want to be up there. It's not like I was sad that I wasn't up there. I never set out to hurt anybody. I didn't want to make anybody upset or disappoint anyone. I didn't know. I didn't know if it was the right call or not. That ever happened in your life? You make a decision, you decide something, and then it starts to happen or it starts to unfold, and you go, I'm not so sure about this. Whether it's yes or no, you decide to do something, you decide not to do something, and then you go, maybe not. More information comes your way, you learn things that you didn't know, or it just kind of settles the reality of what's gone on. You go, I don't know about that one. You know, this parable in our gospel reading has two sons, and their father asks them both to do the same thing. Father asks them to go into the vineyard and go to work. One of them says, I'm not going to do that, but then goes. And the other one says, yeah, I'll do that, and then doesn't. And it's a parable, so it probably didn't happen, except that if you've ever had a child or been a child, it's happened a million times. Parent asks a kid to do that? No, not going to do that. And then a little while later, they've done it. And parents go, okay, all right. Or, the opposite happens. Sure, I'll do it. Oh, how come you haven't done it yet? It's a parable that didn't happen. It happens a million times. Where we give an answer, yes, this is what we're going to do. And then we go, I'm not so sure. And what we discover is we learn something about ourselves from that. See, you've heard it said, actions speak louder than words. And that's usually mentioned in terms of other people. You tell somebody really is by what they do. But we can also tell who we really are by what we do. Because we are, as humans, really, really good at telling ourselves that we are things that we are not. We're exceptional at it. We have a tremendous capacity for self-deception. Polls that come out. You ask people political polls. I got a call like a little while ago. I kept getting calls from the same number, and it said scam likely, scam likely. It turned out to be a political poll thing. I answered it. I was very excited. I got to do a political survey. And they ask over and over again. Most people will say, I'm a moderate. I'm a moderate. I'm a moderate. The actual swing voters are 6%. So most of us who are moderates actually vote the same way over and over and over and over and over. We tell ourselves we're moderates. We have a tremendous capacity to convince ourselves that we are a certain way. It's hard to tell sometimes who we really are and what we really want. What do we really want? What do we really want? What I was kind of taught and told is if you want to know what somebody really wants, look at their calendar, look at their budget. Because the two most precious resources that we have are time and money. And how we organize our calendar tells us how we spend our time, and how we organize our budget tells us how we spend our money. I've since come to realize that that is not true. Because what our calendar is how we think and want to spend our time, and our budget is how we think and want to spend our money. But if you've ever looked at your online banking app and went, oh, I spent that much at Starbucks, then you know what I'm talking about. Right? I was unemployed for a couple of years when the kids were little, so I stayed home. I was a stay-at-home dad. It was super fun. I loved it. And that meant I did almost all the cooking. Right? And I loved it. I had a fantastic time. I spent 2 hours in the kitchen every chance I could get. I loved to cook. I would cook big meals every day. When I went back to work, the food budget not the food budget, okay, because we had a budget, but the amount that was actually spent on groceries went down by $50 a week. And it took us a little while to figure it out. I was spending $50 a week on fancy meat. We ate like kings during that time. Oh, it was like $50 a week on meat, like fancy meat. I didn't know I was doing it. I didn't realize it. Just kind of happened. Our calendar is what we want to spend our time on, and our budget is what we want to spend our money on. But if we want to know what's really important, we look at what we actually spend our time on. If we want to know what's really important, we look at what we actually spend our money on. And then we discover what really matters to us. And I mention that because we are now in stewardship season here. So if you are here for the first time today, picked a great Sunday for it. Start of stewardship season. And our campaign is titled Roots, and we are talking about ways that we think God is calling us in the future to put down deeper roots in our community and in our world. And we have 3 big goals for that. One of the big goals is that we want to get another intern pastor like we had before, and we'll hear a little bit about that in a minute. Having Pastor Morgan here was a fantastic experience. Second one is we want to sustain our ministry excellence. I think we got a pretty good church here, a pretty good thing going, and we want to make sure that our staff and our building are cared for. Our building is a fabulous resource for the community, and it needs a little bit of love. So those are two of the big goals. And the third big goal is we're exploring the idea of doing a community garden. And a community garden would be exactly what it sounds like. It's a garden that you and I and would invite our neighbors and friends to help come and plant, and we would grow vegetables. We would give them away to people. And we can learn how to do that from our friends at Micah 6 and our friends at Genesis Hope in Pontiac and Detroit, respectively. I'm pointing in the right directions. Because they've got them. They can teach us how to do it. We'd have to build it deer-proof, like a big old fence. But we're exploring that. And so you're invited, right, to look at your life and your money and your time and your wallet and how you spend, and to ask what you can give to that. And if you're a member here, you've gotten some stuff in the mail about that, and you'll be getting more. But we're going to have a get-together in the meeting room right there in 2 weeks for the people that are interested in the community garden, right? So we've got the stewardship campaign going, which is an opportunity for you to say, yes, I think that this community garden is a great thing. We also have a meeting where you can come and you can be like, yes, I think this community garden thing is a great thing. But we all know how it goes, right? Just like in this story. You might look at that stewardship campaign and think, these are all great ideas. When it comes time to fill out that intent to give card, maybe it's the same. That happens. You might come up to me and say, this campaign's a great idea. This community garden, great idea. When it comes time, maybe not. Or you might be thinking, that's a really stupid idea. Community garden, who cares? The deer are just going to eat the whole thing. Why bother? But when that meeting comes closer on the 15th, you might just start thinking, well, maybe I'll go to that. Just to hear about it. Just to see. Maybe there's something interesting. Pay attention to those things. When those things come up, pay attention to them. Because we can learn about ourselves from what we do. The choices that we make tell us who we really are, and then from there we can ask, okay, is that who I really want to be? I really wish that I could remember if I had done the Christmas pageant the next year. I really wish I could. I can't recall. I'm going to ask my parents. But I bet they don't remember either. What I know is I didn't want to be someone who disappointed them. I knew I didn't want to hurt anybody. I knew that. I learned that about myself from that experience. I learned something of what was important. And it took me a little while to get there. Sometimes it takes a little while to get there. Sometimes our initial reactions are one thing, and then when it comes time to do something about it, we find ourselves doing something else. Pay attention to that. Pay attention to it, because you can learn a lot from it. I think God is going to do some really awesome things in this church. I think we've done some awesome things in the past few years and the time I've been here and before, and I think God's going to keep doing more awesome things in the future. And I'm excited to see how you all will be part of it. Whether you're here, been here a while, or you're here for the first time, you're invited to be part of it. We'll do it together. It's going to be great. I don't know what your role is. I don't know what your life is like. I don't know what's happening with your calendar or your budget. I don't know what's happening with the amount of time you spend or how you actually spend your money. I really don't. But I invite you to look at that and see if maybe God is calling you to be part of this or something else. And we'll discover it together, and we'll discover who we are together as well. I'm excited. I hope you are too. Amen.
Amen.